When you think of crime, your mind probably jumps to the usual suspects: Chicago, Detroit, and maybe even parts of Los Angeles, where the Google Street View is given up and UPS guys drive with a posse, because they keep getting robbed. But danger doesn't always come wrapped in a large skyline. Sometimes it's tucked away in a sleepy town with a population under 15,000, a Dollar General, and an unusual number of mugshots on the sheriff's Facebook page. In today's video, we're going to show you the most dangerous small towns in America that aren't part of a big metro area, just isolated, unpredictable, and weirdly comfortable with mayhem. Whether it's drugs, gangs, or just the world's angriest neighbors, these are towns that have become desensitized to violence and logic in a lot of cases. One thing these towns all have in common: really cheap real estate. Funny how that works out. When a place is dangerous, nobody wants to live there, the real estate prices go down, and I'm going to show you. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Trinidad, Colorado. Population, 8,000. This place has a crime rate higher than the elevation, and that's saying something at 6,000 feet. Trinidad might look like a peaceful little Colorado mountain town where you'd expect to see log cabins, fly fishing, and locals sipping craft beer named things like Moose Breath IPA. What you actually get is a town with one of the highest violent crime rates per capita in the state, way outpacing many of the cities 5 times their size. You know it's bad when the town's motto is, "Welcome to Trinidad, lock your doors." Trinidad was first explored by Spanish and Mexican traders who liked its proximity to the Santa Fe Trail. It was founded in 1862, soon after they found coal. And it was all over the region. This led to an influx of immigrants eager to capitalize on the natural resource. By the late 1860s, the town had about 1,200 residents. Violent crime here isn't a fluke. We're talking regular assaults, armed robberies, and a thriving undercurrent of drug activities that keep local law enforcement scrambling. We're not even talking the nice drugs. They've got all the bad ones. They've carved a deep path through the town, and with limited resources and declining industry, there's not much to slow the cycle down. Once a thriving coal town has spent decades trying to reinvent itself, but what it mostly is reinvented is how often sirens go off. Life in Trinidad is a weird paradox. You've got mountain views, historic buildings, and an art district that tries to stay charming. But just a few blocks away, it's a different story. These are the kind of places where your neighbors got bars on the windows and your Amazon packages grow legs before you even get the out for delivery alert. The crime here isn't just part of the town, it is the town. If you're just passing through, you might be charmed by the scenery, just don't be fooled by the view. The mountains are beautiful, but the streets below them are kind of rough. Trinidad, Colorado has a violent crime rate that's 102% above the national average, and the average home value here is about $237,000. Not bad. Number 9, Bastrop, Louisiana. Population, 9,500. Crime rate here, you'd think the place would be safe, but it's not. Bastrop sits in northeast Louisiana, surrounded by pines, farmland, and more crime than a town this size has any business dealing with. On paper, it looks like a quiet southern spot with a quaint downtown and a few historical landmarks. In reality, it's a rough ride. The violent crime rate here is alarmingly high, and the property crime isn't far behind. Think aggravated assaults, drug-related shootouts, and a theft problem that makes padlocks a booming business. This town was started in fraud. Bastrop was founded by Felipe Enrique Neri, Baron de Bastrop, a Dutch businessman and accused embezzler. He had fled to the Spanish colony of Louisiana to escape prosecution and became involved in various land deals. In New Spain, he falsely claimed to be a nobleman. He received a large land grant, provided that he could settle the area with 450 families over the next several years. He lost the grant. The decline of the timber and paper industries hit Bastrop hard. Once home to a big Georgia Pacific plant, the town lost hundreds of jobs practically overnight, and with that went a lot of local stability. What filled in the void? A mix of poverty, desperation, and criminal activities. The economy never quite bounced back. Life in Bastrop is a bit of a contradiction. People are friendly, but also suspicious. Law enforcement does what it can, but resources are limited, and so are options for at-risk youth. When there's nothing to do, some folks create their own chaos. So while Bastrop has all the hallmarks of a small town postcard, porches, pickup trucks, and church bells, it also comes with a crime rate that wouldn't be out of place in a much bigger city. It's a reminder that danger doesn't care about population size. It just needs a place to land. Their violent crime rate is 108% above the national average, and the average home value in Bastrop, Louisiana, is just about $89,000. That's brutal. Number 8, Ville, Platte, Louisiana. Population, 6,000. Nestled in the swamps of central Louisiana, this little town might have great food, killer Zydeco music, and a chicken festival, but it also has one of the highest violent crime rates per capita in the entire state. It's brutal. The area around Ville Platte appears to have been first settled in the last half of the 18th century, when Louisiana was under Spanish rule. The earliest record of a settlement in the immediate area of Ville Platte was in 1780, way back then. Ville Platte's problems stem from years of economic stagnation, government mismanagement, and systemic poverty. But what really pushes it over the edge is the lack of opportunity and the rise of gang activity. Even in a town so small, you'd expect everyone to already be cousins. The police department has been under federal scrutiny for years, especially for allegedly arresting people just to meet quota goals. Yeah, that always, get you all warm and fuzzy about a town when you find out the police are just trying to arrest people so they look good. You either love it or leave it. The culture runs deep, so does the crime. Despite the danger, the people here are proud, tough, and resilient, and full of personality. Life in Ville Platte is intense. You either love it or you leave it. The culture runs deep, and so does the crime. It's the type of place where you might find your stolen bike faster by checking your neighbor's shed than by calling the police. Ville Platte is spicy, and not just because of the gumbo. If you're visiting, maybe enjoy the festival, but keep your eye on your wallet and 2 hands on your car keys. The violent crime rate here is 114% above the national average, and the average home value is about $111,000. Not bad. Number 7, Selma, Alabama. Population, 17,000. Selma is known around the world for its role in the civil rights movement, and rightfully so. It was the epicenter of historic, brave, and powerful marches. But while its place in history is secure, modern-day Selma, less noble. It's now one of the most dangerous small towns in Alabama, with violent crime rates that would make big city precincts raise an eyebrow. During the Civil War, Selma was one of the South's main military manufacturing centers, producing many supplies and munitions and building Confederate warships such as the ironclad Tennessee. In the 1960s, black people who pushed the boundaries, doing crazy stuff like attempting to sit at a white-only lunch counter and actually sitting in the downstairs white section of a movie theater, well, they were beaten. Nearly half of Selma's residents at the time were black, and because of the restrictive electoral laws and practices in place since the turn of the century, only 1% were registered voters, preventing them from serving on juries or serving in local office. Selma suffers from many of the issues plaguing the post-industrial small towns in the Deep South: generational poverty and a lack of upward mobility. The city never truly recovered from the loss of the industry, and while tourism and federal grants have helped preserve its legacy, they still haven't done much for the safety. Gangs, drugs, and desperation all mix into a powder keg of street violence and theft. Day-to-day life in Selma is a strange blend of hope and hard reality. There's an undeniable pride here, but locals will tell you which streets to avoid and why you shouldn't walk alone at night. Even police have expressed concerns about staffing shortages and underfunded operations, which only worsen an already dire situation. Selma is a city that changed the world, but right now it's struggling just to protect its own. Respect the past, but be cautious about the present. Their violent crime rate is 138% above the national average, and the average home value here, about $59,000. You can get a house there if you want one. Number 6, Newport, Arkansas. Population, 7,500 people. Newport sits on the banks of the White River in northeast Arkansas, and it's the kind of town that still has a Piggly Wiggly and a suspicious number of pawn shops for its size. While it might sound like a peaceful riverside getaway, this place is more like Duck Dynasty meets Dateline. Violent crime in this town is the official side hustle, aggravated assaults and robberies being the top offenses. In March, the city installed those lame cameras, but at first I thought they were for just traffic. No, It's just so they can see who's getting robbed. Newport is a college town. It's home to one of the campuses for the Arkansas State University system. Newport is known as a town in which Sam Walton owned a Ben Franklin store prior to starting Walmart. There's a tough mix at play here: high unemployment, limited services, and generational poverty. The prison industrial complex is big here. Newport is home to multiple correctional facilities. But even with all those bars and gates, crime on the outside still flourishes. In fact, some residents joke that the safest people in town are the ones that are locked up in the local prison. Life in Newport is a bit of a paradox. It has historic charm, decent fishing, and a surprisingly beautiful natural surrounding. But day-to-day life often revolves around avoiding trouble, or at least knowing how to diffuse it when it shows up on the front porch. This is the kind of place where the local news reads like a rejected episode of Cops. To survive in Newport, you don't just need to be street smart. You need small-town survival instinct, a good deadbolt, and a solid working relationship with a local police scanner. The violent crime rate here is 145% above the national average. The average home value here, $86,000. That is not bad. Number 5, Kingstree, South Carolina. Population, 3,000. Kingstree looks like a typical southern small town. Brick storefronts, a courthouse that dates back to when powdered wigs were all the rage, and sweet tea that could knock out a horse. But beneath the charm, it's got a dark side. This little town has a crime rate that rivals cities 10 times its size, especially when it comes to violent crime. We're talking assaults, robberies, and the occasional, that escalated quickly, domestic dispute. They got a real problem with that there. A lot of the trouble here can be traced back to poverty. Nearly 30% of the population is living below the poverty line. Crime often becomes the town's unofficial economy. Combine that with limited job opportunities and a criminal justice system that moves slower than molasses in January, and you've got yourself a recipe for trouble. Life in Kingstree is the kind of slow that sounds peaceful until you realize boredom and frustration have set in for generations. There's a tight-knit feel to this place. Everyone knows everyone, and that can work against you when you're trying to avoid the drama. If something goes down, you're going to hear about it at church, the diner, or from your aunt who knows a cousin of a deputy who was at the scene. There's always someone like that. Kingstree is a town where time forgot progress, but crime didn't. It may not be the most violent town in America, but it's definitely the most dangerous one you'll never see in a travel brochure. Their violent crime rate is 162% above the national average. The average home value in Kingstree is $119,000. Number 4, Deming, New Mexico. Population, 14,000. Deming might sound like the name of your dentist, but this dusty little border town is no smiling matter. Sitting just north of the U.S.-Mexico border in the middle of nowhere, Deming is basically the Wild West if the Wild West also had Circle K's and vape shops. The crime problem here is especially noticeable in property theft, cars, bikes, copper wire, you name it, it's gone. Somebody else has it, and you got to replace it. But violent crime here isn't rare either. Drug trafficking, addiction are major issues made worse by poverty and limited economic opportunity. The town has struggled to attract substantial industry, and with boredom comes bad choices. Combine that with minimal police staffing, and you've got yourself a recipe for mayhem with a side of broken windows. Deming does have some charms. It's got killer views of mountains, and the annual Rockhound Roundup brings in geology nerds from all over. But if you move here thinking you're escaping big city crimes, you're in for a rude awakening. The criminals here might be fewer number, but they are very efficient and active. Locals here have learned to live with it. Many know their neighbors, not really because they want to. It's more like necessity. In Deming, your neighbor might be the one that helps you jump your car, but also the one who stole your battery in the first place. The violent crime rate here is 164% above the national average, and the average home value here is $155,000, almost $156,000. Helena, West Helena, Arkansas. Population, 9,000. Helena-West Helena sounds like someone couldn't decide on a town name, and that's just the beginning of the confusion. Nestled along the Mississippi River in the Arkansas Delta, this town has seen better days, like Reconstruction era better. Once a booming port with blue roots and cotton cash, Helena-West Helena is now mostly known for violent crime, deep poverty, and the general vibe of don't stick around after dark. We're talking one of the highest violent crime rates in the state, and that's saying something. Murder, shooting, and armed robberies aren't even rare events here. They're part of the background noise. The economy, hanging on by a thread. Education, terribly underfunded. Police, overworked and underpaid. It's the kind of place where even the Dollar General closes early. Daily life here is tough. There's community pride, like most southern towns. But that doesn't make up for the fact that many blocks have more boarded up buildings than open ones. The crime feels cynical, passed down like a bad family recipe. It's not uncommon to hear about generations of the same family making the same court appearances. Helena-West Helena is gritty, raw, and dangerous in that forgotten by time sort of way. If you're passing through, it's best to pass through quickly and maybe don't make eye contact with anyone standing outside a gas station after sundown. Their violent crime rate is pretty high, 234% above the national average. But the good news is you can get a house here for under $50,000. It's $47,000 if you want to risk it. Number 2, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Yep, our old pal Pine Bluff. This is one of the most dangerous towns in America. It's more dangerous than most of the major cities. While Pine Bluff itself is technically a micropolitan area, the small towns orbiting its sagging gravitational pull are something else entirely. They're not big enough to get their own police departments half the time, but they still manage to rack up some of the highest violent crime rates in the state. It's Pine Bluff without even the illusion of infrastructure. So what makes these rural outposts so sketchy? For starters, poverty is off the chart. The local economy, which was once propped up by agriculture and manufacturing, that's all mostly dried up, leaving people to get by on hope, hustle, and the occasional home invasion. There aren't many jobs, but there are plenty of guns. It's the kind of place where people shoot first, ask questions later, and then forget what the question was. Living out here feels like time travel, but not the good kind. There are long stretches of road where you won't see a house for miles, then suddenly you'll come across a burned out trailer with 4 cars in the yard and a satellite dish. It's quiet, but not peaceful. The silence has its tensions, like even the crickets are waiting for something to pop off. You want to escape the city? Fine, but Pine Bluff's countryside is where the crime doesn't need an audience. It just needs bad timing and a place to hide the evidence. Welcome to Arkansas, where even rural life comes with a warning label. Their violent crime rate in Pine Bluff is 356% above the national average. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but their population is only 4,500 people. The average home value in Pine Bluff is $75,000. All right, before we get to number 1, if you haven't bought one of our shirts yet, what are you waiting for? There's links for it down below. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Forrest City, Arkansas. Population, 13,000. Tucked between Memphis and Little Rock, but not close enough to benefit from either. Like there's any benefits being near either of those. I mean, besides Beale Street. Forrest City is like the Bermuda Triangle of East Arkansas. Stuff goes missing, people get hurt, and no one's quite sure how things got this bad. With violent crime rates nearly 4 times the nation's average, the crime here isn't just your run-of-the-mill vandalism or kids being punks. We're talking aggravated assaults, armed robberies, and some of the most brazen theft you'll find outside of a heist movie. Kind of place John Wick doesn't even go to. And the real kicker? Most of this happens within walking distance of someone's grandma's porch swing. It's the kind of town where you can get your tires slashed during Sunday services. Forrest City's decline has been slow and painful. Once buoyed by agriculture and light manufacturing, those jobs have largely disappeared. In their place, low wages, limited opportunity, and a booming underground economy powered by drugs and desperation. Combine that with a crumbling infrastructure, underfunded schools, and a police department that is in over its head, and you've got the perfect storm of small town dysfunction. The locals will tell you Forrest City has good people, and they're not wrong. But when the odds of being a crime victim are higher than your odds of catching a decent paying job, it's hard to stay optimistic. You can love your community and still lock your doors at 3 p.m. And in Forest City, that's not paranoia. That's just being practical. Yeah, Forest City's a pretty rough place. Their violent crime rate is 413% above the national average, and their average home value here is $74,000. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.